A very good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope you all had a great lunch. Well, my name is Tenzin Legman, Assistant Program Coordinator of Tibet House, and I'll be moderating today's second session on conference and panel discussion on universal ethics. But before that, let us all play one small activity. So I want all of you to close your eyes. Want all of you to close your eyes and think of one such moment, one funny incident which happened in your life, in your past life. And when I count to till three, you have to laugh out loud as you can. So there's one rule, even though you didn't recall such moments, still you have to laugh. So please close your eyes for 1 minute and think of one such moments, one funny moments which happened in your past life. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. So how many of you have actually visualized such moments? Please raise up your hand. Is there any volunteers, like most preferably from the students from Tonglen, who wants to share one such moments, one funny moments which happened in your life? Any volunteers from the students? No volunteers? Yes.
Hello everyone, my name is Nandini from Tonglen High School in HP Dharamshala. So one day me and my brother is playing. Actually on that time the time is 8 p.m. and night's over. And on that time my brother is so small and my mama is cooking the food and he just want to just want to
Yes, please continue.
He just want to scare my mama and he slowly he slowly go back and like boo of my mother, but unfortunately my mother saw him his shadow and she moved backward and slapped.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. We will now begin the session. So the theme for this session is Compassion, Universal Ethics in Action. And the chairperson for this session is Dr. T.K. Mishra, former Vice Principal, Ramanujan College, Delhi University. And the speakers are Venerable Jamyang Lobsang, the founder and director, Tonglen Charity, Sara, Himachal Pradesh. Mr. Chhering Dorje, director, Munsel Group of Institutions, Laos, Spiti, Himachal Pradesh. Ms. Robin Chaurasiya, the founding director, KRANTI NGO, Mumbai. I would like to request our chairperson and all the speakers to kindly come on stage and take your respective seats. Thank you. To briefly introduce our chairperson for this session, Dr. T.K. Mishra, as a professor of commerce and the vice principal at Ramanujan College, University of Delhi, retired on 30th June 2022, Professor Mishra obtained a PhD from Delhi School of Economics. Along with his 40 years of college teaching career, Professor Mishra has also been the director, Center for Ethics and Values, for the last 8 years. As seminar director, he organized 6 international seminars or conferences on issues of ethics. As editor, he published 7 volumes of peer-reviewed International Journal of Applied Ethics. His writings in the form of editorials have often appeared in the Speaking Tree, a Times of India publication. He initiated Ethicist Conclave with Pet House, New Delhi. The second Ethicist Conclave concluded a year before last year. He was also the director of a newly established School of Happiness. As a course coordinator, he conducted 3 batches of UGC-approved 6-month values-based course in happiness. In 2021, he completed 10 online courses on positive psychology from universities like Harvard, Yale, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. He has also received Distinguished Teacher Award from Indian Accounting Association NCR chapter. So with this, I now request Dr. T.K. Mishra to kindly proceed the session. Thank you.
Welcome all, and thank you very much. Well, at the outset, I feel deeply indebted to Dr. Dorje Damdul for inviting me to the most important session. Because compassion is the most important component of universal ethics. Lord Buddha supposedly said, "What is that one thing which when you have all other virtues?" I repeat, what is that one thing which when you have all other qualities? It is compassion. Well, it is worthwhile to give a moment about what compassion really means. You know, Jinping, a great philosopher, scholar, Tibetan Chinese scholar, who established a Center for Compassion and, altruism at Stanford University. He has written a book also on compassion, wonderful book. And he explains that compassion is a sense of concern that arises when confronted with another's suffering and feel motivated to see the suffering removed. He adds, compassion is what connects your feeling of empathy to the acts of kindness, generosity, and other forms of expressions of altruism, altruistic tendencies. You know, Dalai Lama often says that it is from mother's nurturing that one learns compassion. He said that his mother was his first teacher of compassion. He also adds that if you want to live a happy life and have fewer problems, you must develop sense of compassion. For even kings or queens or spiritual leaders, their survival depends on the rest of the community. So he laid emphasis upon compassion so much. Now, to me, if Dalai Lama considers mother as the first teacher of compassion, I consider nature as the first teacher of universal ethics. Nature is something which is acceptable everywhere and by everyone. If we want to understand what this nature is, what kind of nature we want, we appreciate, we accept, we have to dissect this word. The first letter, N, natural, simple. Let us learn something from Tibetan monks. How simple life is. They don't need to put, necktie for getting recognition and acceptance. They get all kind of respect, dignity, everything in simple clothes wrapped up. Symbol of simplistic life. Natural things everyone likes, all over the world. So that is N. A is altruism. Everywhere. It is needed. And when we talk of altruism, I appreciate Ratan Tata. He wrote somewhere that we should believe in ideal giving and not money giving. Because ideal giving makes you stronger, makes you sustainable. Whereas money giving may make you, complacent. So you should believe in ideal giving. So A is altruism, that is the real source of happiness. Then T. T stands for thankfulness, gratitude. Everyone likes it. Everyone wants to be thanked. You also want to be thanked for whatever you do. Sense of gratitude. U stands for unity. Unity in the family, appreciate unity of mind, body and soul as an individual. Unity of thoughts and action. Unity in the world. Dalai Lama says so many times, 7 billion human beings, they are one and same at the deeper level. So unity is a very important thing in all the spheres. Similarly, R is respect. Respect to the country, respect to elders, respectfulness is appreciated all over. We are talking about universal ethics, universally acceptable norms. You must pay respect for whatever you are receiving from anyone. And E is, of course, ethics. Ethical conduct, ethical behavior. When we talk of ethics, ethics is what? Values transformed into action is ethics. That is my definition. All universal values, when transformed into action, is universal ethics. So, nature. This particular acronym may help us in retaining what is expected of us, what is acceptable by one and all in this universe. Now, we have a wonderful panelist. I don't want to say much here because I have to speak in another session also. So, we have wonderful three speakers. Again, I want to compliment Dorje for having chosen such a wonderful panel. Representative character, which we could not imagine also. There would be a lady speaker who would say she went to Tibet House, she went to so many, places for learning compassion, but she could not learn. Ultimately, she learned where? In Mumbai, sex workers. She met her, she talked to them, she lived life with them, and she could learn what really compassion means. So a variety of things, We have one speaker who started his humanitarian journey by looking at, street children begging. He began with few people, and now he has hundreds of units, he's managing. So we will have chance to listen to him also. So let me repeat. We have first speaker Jamyang Lobsang, who is a founder director of Tonglen charity, situated in Himachal, Pradesh. His real journey as humanitarian began when he saw children begging in the street. His compassion towards them led him to visit the slums where these children lived with no access to clear water, sanitation, or education. He has received multiple awards at local, state, national, and international level for social service. His vision, look at his vision. His vision is to break the cycle of poverty through education, better health, and empowerment. Our next speaker is Mr. Chhering Dorje, who was born in a tiny valley in the high altitude of Himalayan region. The scattered villages are cut off from the world for 6 months due to heavy snowfall. All people in the valley follow Tibetan Buddhism. Due to hard atmosphere, the valley grows very less agriculture products. Thus, maximum families are very poor. While in 2000, he became the principal of Munsel LingSchool. In 2017, he has been director of so many schools. Now the third speaker is Ms. Robin Chaurasiya. Is the founder of KRANTI, an NGO that empowers survivors of trafficking and daughters of sex workers from Mumbai's red light area. KRANTI's girls, amazing. KRANTI's girls have become the first girls of their community to study in schools and universities in the US, UK, and Europe, and received UN awards for their social work, given 50 plus TEDx and other talks around the world, and been featured in number of international media platforms. Ms. Chaurasiya has received numerous awards for her work with KRANTI, including the French and German Human Rights Award. She was also the top 10 finalist for the $1 million Global Teacher Award. That's why I said that we will have excellent time listening to them, their personal experience and diverse experience. So now I welcome the first speaker. Thank you.
Hello, Tashdili. First, I would like to pay homage and respect to His Holiness and all the distinguished guests and the chair of these sessions and all the students and everybody here. So I really don't know what I need to talk. So I think previous speakers and also this morning's Sejong, Kishela, and everybody's explained well about the universal ethics. So I think I have not much new things to say and to tell you. So, but anyhow, so let me take this opportunity. And so, yeah, so while we having the food, I was telling to our staff, and so I don't know how much I need to be talk. And maybe you can talk to the organizer to reduce my time. Maybe you can give this time to other people, right? So, but anyhow, they said, no, Guruji, you talk, they motivate me, yeah? So, so thank you for Tenzin and thank you for, so Lakshmi as well. So, let me pick up the award from the sir saying the gratitudes, right? I think the word of the gratitude is very important. So today we are gathering here about talking about the universal ethics. The ethics in education is one of the vision of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. This vision inspire us and closely sit in our heart. It is center of our hearts, my heart, and children of the Tonglen's and staff of the Tonglen's hearts. So, first I would like to say thank you to His Holiness for such of these great visions. And it is so important to have these great visions in this 21st century. If we look the world, not just only country-wise, if we look the world in the more broader perspectives, in societies, in every way. So I feel the secular ethics in education is the medicine that can solve the problem that we are having right now in the contemporary world. So, by saying that, I also want to say thank you so much for the Tibet House organizing such of the important events. As well as I also would like to say thank you for the Ayunjanias and Sea Learning and Kishela Lobsang Tenzin, as well as Sea India, as well as also the Ayunjanias curriculum developers. You two organizations really put His Holiness visions in the textbook that we can follow, that the million of the children now receive the education. So let me tell you the small story. Tonglen education program started in 2004. At that time, everybody told, I also believe, yes, education can change the children's life. Yes, it is important to educate. Yes, I also do believe in education. Then later on, I recognized while the education that children received in the school, when some of the children got, in the year 10, they got the highest marks. In the year 8, year 5, in the state board exam. But that doesn't guarantee that this child has a good ability. And they are able to use their potentials by receiving high marks. So in 2010, we said, look, maybe I could be a little bit wrong. I don't know. Look, so we need to be changed a little bit in the Tonglen, how we can educate the children, right? So maybe I got opportunity to study in the monastic. Maybe my view could be different than the what, the modern education people are received and teachers. So we need to be talk a little bit about that. Then we should change in Tonglen, the first. We should change our objective. Let to have, before all of the staff, the children, parents also thought, some of these parents, maybe like Tonglen could educate the children, our children become a doctor, nurse, engineering, maybe so and so, right? So in 2010, we said, look, we should not be focusing, making a goal and objective children to become a doctor and nurse. We should change our objective. We should aim to protect a good human being. How we can protect a good human being? Then we come up with the ethics and talking. In 2010, this was 2010. When we're talking about ethics, there were so many ethics, right? So yes, I'm fully aware that our society and community are formed by the different backgrounds, different beliefs, different cultures. One belief cannot be taken over the another belief. We should not. We should not. So therefore, within the Tonglen, we have the 4-5 backgrounds, believers in there. So some of the children from the Hindus backgrounds, some of the children from the Muslim backgrounds, some of the children from the Christian backgrounds. In between that, I just also want to make sure the things to monitor my time. Sometimes I talk a lot, I forget. At the end, I cannot be so conclude, right? But anyhow, so we try to teach about the ethics. At that time, there was no example of the ethic that we call about the secular ethics. Yes, I knew His Holiness has written a book, Ethics for New Millennium. But as I learned my English from the Tonglen, so I couldn't read too much about this very nice books. The sentence, I tried to learn, tried to make the pencil mark, tried to find the new words, but it was very hard for me to understand in English. At that time, the book was not translated into the Tibetan. So then in 2012, I was listening the radio. Every morning I listened the Radio Free Asia. In the Bodh Gaya, His Holiness was there. Rijigate and His Holiness inaugurate a new book called Beyond Religion. Then I suddenly wake up, wow, this would be the best resources for Tonglen. Then after 1 hour, I tried to call to my monk friend in Bodh Gaya, can you get this book? So then he said, yes, I tried to get this book. I believe myself, maybe I am the first person who ordering the book after the just launch. Maybe I could be a little bit maybe dreaming something in, right? So, but anyhow, so then we try to educate our children and we redesign our education program. Then our school, our education program turned into the holistic education. So, yes, Professor Sangdor Rinpoche, his advice, his teachings, very important for our school. And he suggests that while in a Guruji, if you don't really give education in a holistic, it's not really you are educating the children. Maybe the school can be run as a training programs or something. If you don't educate as a whole, it's not really in education, right? So it is important to educate the children in a holistic way. So therefore, we try to learn all these kind of things, to contact to the Krishnamurti schools, Tibetan Tibetan school, all of this kind of thing happen. So rather than telling too much story, so let me focus on what Tonglen does. So we recognize the universal ethics is important. We try to live in universal ethics in Tonglen. Not just only knowing, learning, hearing, Thoba, right? Not only. And we try to live in, and we try to have the critical insight of universal ethics, right? So, yes, we can say about the vision of His Holiness is very important. And we want to believe in the vision of His Holiness, but not only living with His Holiness vision, it is important to share. So today, even though I'm not really speaking well in English, in Hindi either, but I come here, just say, thank you so much. You all work for the His Holiness visions. And it is important to share His Holiness vision to others. So in Tonglen, we discussed a lot of things about the universal ethics and His Holiness visions. And we have made commitment to live in His Holiness visions. And not only living, we promote His Holiness vision to the larger societies. So before we promoting, we need to be created the environment of the Tonglen in the vision. For that, what we do is, this morning, professor from the Ladakh, I forget her name, so maybe something. So she mentioned about the His Holiness four principle commitment. So in Tonglen, we are having 6 different sort of subject, or 5 different, let's say maybe 4 different kind of the subject and 1 project. Let's say in the 5, right? In the His Holiness first principle commitment, ethics in education. In Tonglen, our children spending in total 67 hours per month in learning universal ethics in education, which is composed by Ayurveda and C learning. In C learning itself, we are spending almost 18 hours a month. So such of this in an academic subject that students need to spend such of this hour is also tough. It's difficult, but we are committed. And second, so religious harmonies. So such of the children in Tonglen, and so we can't do too much about the religious harmonies, this thing, and contribute it. But in our own level, what we would like to learn, we are having a common value of all religions subject in Tonglen. Once a week, 1 hour a week, student is spending. And His Holiness book, the kinship, right? Kinship book? The true kinship of the faiths, right? So that we are based on that. Then third, His Holiness principle commitment about the Tibetan culture preservations and environment. Tibetan culture preservation, our children may not be too much contributed, and they are Indian students, so we don't do too much about that. But the environments, we had a project. So we started project from Dharamsala, now reached to the Spiti valleys, creating forests. The plantation started from 113 from the Tonglen school now reached to the different part of the Himachal Pradesh. And so that is our environmental sort of project that students and teacher and we all sit together and develop that part. So the project name called A Step Toward His Holiness Green Missions, right? So now the fourth one, revival of the ancient Indian knowledge. Yes, of course, sea learning, universal ethics, also part of ancient Indian knowledge, right? If I understand correctly, please, if not, please make the corrections, yeah? So, look, but we are a little bit more focusing on that one, right? So, in universal ethics, in Ayurvedic years, the sequence of the setting of the curriculum is Sudimsum, right? Very, sort of for me, as I got a study from the monastery, so the step that following is very matched to me, but it doesn't mean that we are making the distinction between the two curriculum. It's not. It's not. Both of the curriculum are wonderful, excellent. We love and we wanted to move forward, right? So, in Ayurveda, as mentioned in the book, we have not seen the book. They've called Discernment and Universal Responsibility book is coming. I believe in the discernment is very important. Very important. Right? So, if we talk about the kindness, if we talk about the compassion, yes, of course, it is important to talk, but we also have the ability to use our mind. Sometimes, as the sea learning, the first beginning of the chapter they mentioned, our children love it, this concept. Sometimes action looks like unkind, but it is kind. Sometimes action looks like kind, but it's not kind. Right? The decision what we need to make, whether it's kind or not, we need to use our brain. Right? We need to check about the intention of the doers, givers. So, how many minutes do I have? More? 2 minutes. Okay, now, for that, so Tonglen is keen to develop to revival of ancient Indian knowledge for dialectic in Hindi. Why we thinking in Hindi? We can do much more easy in English. We are hoping each of the school in India one day reach sea learning and universal ethics in education. That is our dream. As well as also the dialectic reach to each of the school in India. That's our dream. So therefore, I want to conclude here, even though I take maybe 1 minute more extra, but I just want to say this, saying that, so in Tonglen, so we are sort of taking part of the His Holiness vision and implementing and creating this environment within the Tonglen. Not only within Tonglen, Tonglen developed a particular department called secular ethics. So this department is responsible to extend this vision to the greater society. So therefore, today I am here seeking your cooperation, your support, Tibet House support. We can't run the program. We cannot reach this program only by us. So His Holiness vision is sun shining all over the world, including in India. Let we make together every corner of the India, this sunshine reach there. For that, your support, your cooperation is required. Right? Let we make a common objective. And particularly in the universal ethics, the sea learning, the vision of the His Holiness, that Tonglen has the 5 projects, sit very close to my heart. I am totally committed to promote, to live, and to disseminate the His Holiness vision's greater perspective. As His Holiness, my spiritual teacher, this could be my Guru Dakshina to my spiritual teacher, His Holiness. Thank you. So, thank you so much. Sorry it's taking for a long time.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jamyang. So humbly, honestly, frankly, you shared your experience, valuable experience. I think a great credit should go to the agencies which identify such people. Maybe there are many people working like this in nook and corner of India, but they are not in the public eye. So I really express my gratitude to Tibet House for having identified such persons and bringing them to limelight, so that more people get inspired and at least they become aware of what is happening all around. And that would make them a bit humble also. Sometimes what happens that we think that we are doing so great, but when we come across such people, then we realize that no, we are doing absolutely nothing. So thanks Dorje, thanks your team, everyone, for identifying such persons. And as you said, he is your good friend. He will be always supporting you. And the second speaker, I invite him, Mr. Chhering Dorje.
July everyone. So I represent Himalayan mountains. First of all, I would like to thank you, Tibet House, for giving a chance to the Himalayan mountains also. As our chairperson has said, that Sir Geshe-la is very clever to call the people from every corner of the India. So I represent Spiti Valley in Himalayan mountains. So before I start, I would like to tell you one incident, real incident happened in my life. When I was in a Dharamshala college, we are the only few students from Spiti, and we formed one union known as the 7Jan Students Union. And fortunately, that time, great scholar Samdong Rinpoche ji was there, and he came to one of our event as a university college student. We have many events, so we needed some chance to celebrate the Losar, and so we called Rinpoche. And when Rinpoche came to our function, his first question was, "Oh, are you all from Lawal Spiti?" We said, "Yes, we all are from Lawal Spiti." And his second question was, "And which place is better, your place or the Mumbai?" Nature answer was Mumbai. We all answered Mumbai, sir. And he said, "Okay, good, because yes, Mumbai has many buildings, big buildings, many people are living there. So that's the reason you said Mumbai is better." Yes, we said, "Of course, that's the main reason." Then he said, "Okay, if some stranger come to your valley, if some people, unknown people come to your place, what you do the peoples?" Our answer was nature. We said we help them, we feed them, we give them shelter, and we show them the ways. And also we guide them, and whatever they need, we give them. And it is our pleasure. Okay. Then in Mumbai also the people do like that. We all surprised. Maybe not. Even they are not ready to tell us the ways, where to go. Then Rinpoche said, "Oh, then how your place is worse and their place is better?" That was the realization of the universal ethics first time in my life. So I'm living in a Spiti, which is a very tiny village, tiny valley border to the Tibet. And till the 1990s, it was totally closed for the outsiders. Even for the Indians need a permission to go there, inner land permission to go there. Because of that, when I was young, I studied in my village. So I clearly remember that when we are taught by our teachers that there are the human beings who have yellow hair and blue eyes, we never believe. We think that must be the ghost. So that was the situation in my Really, because there was no power till the last 30 decades back when I was student. So I remember that when the first time power came there, so every time when the power comes, we have to say Jule or the Jai Hind. So like that, we have to welcome the power. Still the big problem there. Still the power is not very regular there. But anyway, in 1990s, it has opened for the tourists, for the outside world, for the of course Indians, and still some kind of the permission are needed, but it has opened. Then also the many schools has also opened. We got the educations. But the main thing comes with these developments, whether we are the happier or not. I'm here to tell this story because I saw this because 30 years when I was the student in an over village. If the one donkey is bought, we feel very happy. Really, I'm telling the story because we will get a ride there. We will get to take the water. We can use it. But these days, buying the Mercedes car may be so much not happy for my village also because it is development. As Geshe mentioned, for us, why we need the universal ethics. This is the most important question Geshe Dorje has put in his in the beginning. So I think His Holiness, our most respected, always says that everybody, even the small creatures, man, aim is to be happy. Then really these developments brought a happy in our life. This is the big question. And I visualized this. I am the witness of this. Why I am the witness of this? Because I saw the poverty there. When Sir has introduced my village, so said the tiny village which has only the one crops, which is totally cut off from the world rest of the 6 months. I clearly remember having the onion and the fresh tomato was a luxury for us. When we saw the fresh tomato after 6 months, we feel so happy. So in that place, when it's connected good, I can't say the good, but it's connected with the roads, connected with the modern facilities, geo, and this. Really, the people are much happier. This I am going to explain. Earlier, when we were young, I clearly remember that if some outsiders comes to our home and stay with us, my neighbor will not give them the next time the room. The only reason is because it will hurt the neighbors. There is a saying in our Spiti, Kimje Tugindelwa. It is in Spiti language, very similar to Tibetan. Kimje Tugindelwa means the neighbors are related with the samok. We cannot separate the samok. So our samok, my samok and my neighbor samok is going together and we cannot separate it. Like this, we give the importance to the neighbors. Like this, we give importance to the society. These days, when the Himachal government started the homestay, scheme, that everybody is opening the homestay. Now, they are calling, please come to my home, please come to my home. But what is happening at last? When I was young, maybe I started brushing my teeth when I was 12 years. No, 16 years old when first time I went to the Dharamshala. But we don't have any kind of the teeth diseases. I don't know about this diabetes, sugar, this BP problems, this in our time. Why? Because we are more happier those days. We have the ethical values. Those days we have many ethical values, sharing each other. More happier persons those days. The relationships, we talked about relationships. I remember when I was young, when our grandparents used to tell us the stories when we don't have the powers, the folk tales we used to tell. All the folk tales are based on the ethics. All the folk tales, they give ethical values. We give the respect to the values, we give respect to the how deal all these ethical values which we have talked earlier, whatever the compassion, whatever the sharing, whatever this cooperating, these all stories are based on that. Then in 1990s, when we were opened, many people started to come there. They also constructed the road to Spiti. Many people started to come there. With their coming, many diseases also started to come. Now there are many people, even myself also diagnosed with the diabetes. I mean, only the medicine, and this is not the cure of the diseases. We need a really the warm heart for this. Earlier, our grandparents, they use a very long life. Most times, maybe the food is one reason, because that time we have very simple food. But they are very less sick. There was no doctors at all in 1990s. There was no hospitals in Spiti Valley. But people also did not get so many kind of the diseases. These all are because of the heart. I think this is the main thing, heart, or the happiness, the contentment they have got. Because of this, they are very happy. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has mentioned in one of his book, I think Ethics of the New Millennium, he has clearly said, there is a one valley where the people do not lock the doors, so that the passengers, they can have a meal, or they can have a tea, or they can have some kind of the drinks there. Settle in some places, some tiny villages in my valley, they don't close the door. They don't lock the door. So these are the values there. Then, with the introduction of the education, first, Government of India has declared us as a scheduled tribe. So with the tribe, we started to get the jobs. When we started to get the government jobs, many people now, they have the money. Earlier, we don't have the poor and rich. When I introduced, most of the people are poor. Earlier, we don't have a poor. We all are same. I think, like in a Ladakh, in an ancient future, the writer has clearly written that when he visited first time there, he asked some persons if anybody needed a sponsorship in this village. They said, no, we all are equal. When I was young, we all are equal. We all have the homes, same. Even the homes are not built by the laborers, it's built by ourselves. We call it mila. So every time when we construct the house, I don't need to hire the laborers. From every household, some people will come to work with me. So all have the same houses, all have the same food. So we don't have any poor and rich people. We don't know the rich and poor's definition. Of course, there were no beggars at all. Then with the modern education, the things started to change. So first, my place is so cold and difficult, hard area. When we were under the Punjab, not under the Himachal, but we were under the Punjab. So when they opened the first time schools, so the teachers were sent there on the basis of punishment. If some teacher does not work well, so they were sent to the CPT as a punishment. So you can imagine the people who are working there as a punishment base, what kind of education we will get. And then also, our names are difficult to write, like my name Chhering is difficult to pronounce for them. They started to change the names. So there are many names like old Bir Singh, Sher Singh, Mohan Singh, there are many Singhs. One of my friend, when he went to Chandigarh University to get the admission, the person, the in charge, the registrar, he asked, what is your name? She said, my name is Paldan. He looked me, and face was like a Paldan. So he said, okay, then what is your father's name? Because of those changes, father's name was Bir Singh. He said, my father's name is Bir Singh. Kis Sardar ka munda hai tu? He said the next answer. So I'm elaborating this story here because like our face, we have our values that we have to keep. This is very necessary. जैसे हम लोगों ने पहले कहानी सुना था कि कभी को ये बगुला नहीं बन सकता, so इस तरह we cannot become like that. So, but the main thing is these clothes, these are not our culture. The main cultures of the Himalayans is this moral ethics in which we are based on, which brings us the happiness. Then because of this situation, in 1990s, the plus 2's result, when it was declared, again, maybe no again. So CPT's pass percentage was 2%. In a matriculation board exam, the pass percentage was 2%. So our founder, Lamaji, that time he was in an Institute of Buddhist Dialects. So when he went to the TCB, it was totally opposite. There the result was 100% or the 2% fail or the 98% passed. So we started the Munsel LingSchool in 1996 by our founder, Gentashin MGLG. And the main thing is, this school is based out by the His Holiness the Dalai Lama himself that in Spiti, and he named it Munsel. Then we realized which kind of the moon means dark and cell means light. Which kind of the light we have to remove those diagonals. First, we thought that maybe result, as sir has also mentioned, that we are also focusing on the results. I was as a principal, every time myself get up early in the morning, I go to bed very late to give a good results. And we have a very good results for last many years. Then we realized only this is same as the story, because we all represent the same works working in the Himalayas with the students. Then also we realized that this is not enough. After becoming doctor, engineer, they are even decreasing our harmony or peace cultures. Now the person who got the doctor, they are becoming rich, and the others were becoming poorer, one thing. The main thing is, after getting the doctor, he is happy or not? This is the main question. So in a Munsel school, now we are working with the Genla also, we are working with the C, we are also working with Ayurjan. So our aim is to bring these ethical values, not bringing ethical values to revive the ethical values, to maintain these ethical values. We have the ethical values, still we have many. If compared to the Delhi and the other cities, we are much happier person. We have much more values there. But we should not be lessen it. If it's lessons, I visualize what the problems are coming. 40 years back, there is no unemployment. Now, in an employment office, there are thousands of unemployment people are there. This is because of the modern education. This is because of the lacking of our universal ethics. If we have if we maintain those ethical values with the modern education, maybe we have not faced these kind of problems. Now the Munsel has also changed our views that we need to focus more on the ethical values. So for this, we have in touch with the Genla also. Besides that, last year, I started also this Lobsang Chigema, the 8 verses of the mind as a morning prayer. Why this I did is, I thought if every day we decide that I will consider myself the least, I will consider these values, so it will generate them. Another aim of this is, now many students, when we introduce the Tibetan language, some students don't work hard. The reason is, they said because in a board exams this paper is not taken. So maybe they need some kind of the rewards also. So for this, what we thought is, we will also start, I will request Geshe also that you have already started the certificate courses in the Nalanda education. So maybe some of our students in a class 9th, 10th can enroll them, and then they also will have these kind of the certificate. If they will have a certificate, they will listen it at least. When they will listen it, as earlier Genla has mentioned, Thwe Sam Gum. If they will be with Thwe, if they will listen it somehow, one day there will be the action also, the compassion or the ethicals really will be in actions. So that's why another our planning is to work more with the Tibet House or the Nalanda education, whatever else. So to keep these values which we have, earlier we have. Now another thing, earlier when we were in a school, when some outsiders come to ask, what is your aim of your life? Our answer is, I want to become doctor, I want to become engineer. But now this thinking also we have changed. Now most of my students answer, my aim is to be happy. This is we are bringing the changes. Still, Spiti has not lost its culture, not lost its ethical values, but this is a right time to save them. Otherwise, now opening of this Atal Tunnel, opening of these new roads, many people are coming there, destroying our cultures. So this is a very right time. For this, we have a great responsibility. At present, we are running the 3 schools in Spiti. And in the 3 schools, we almost every 1/3 student is sitting in our schools. So we have a great responsibility to maintain the universal ethics, but we have many limits. Like we don't have a proper means of the communication, we don't have a proper transportation also. Before this, I was just checking during the lunchtime. I was checking how is the weather in Kaza next 2 weeks because there will be the snowfall. Maybe I could be stuck for 5 more days, 6 more days. So still we have these kind of the many problems there. But these problems are nothing if we will be able to save our universal ethics. So, my another thing is in a near future is. President Sir Sejong also said that in a Tibetan institutes, there are many are occupied by the Himalayans. It is very true. I am sure my name is Chhering Dorje because of the Tibetans, because of the His Holiness the Dalai Lama. If the Tibetans has not come to Spiti, not come to India, not as a refugee, maybe I don't have the name like Chhering Dorje. I also maybe the Ram Singh, Sher Singh like that. So then at last, I would like to request Tibet House that in near future also, please organize these kind of the like certificate course or the diploma courses in the Himalayan schools also. We were there with the students. So if you will make some curriculums for us that we can do it because it is much easier because we have not lost the ethical values there. Still we have many ethical values there, but it needs to be preserved. So it can be preserved with the help of the, we are here, we have the cultures, we have the religions, we have the language because of the Tibetan government. This is, I have to accept. But certainly in the near future also, although you are the refugee, I belong to the independent citizen, but you are, as His Holiness Dalai Lama said, that this is for whole world. So please, in near future also cooperate with us. So we will work more on this so that how to keep the ethical, universal ethics in the Himalayas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chhering ji. You have given us a very important message out of your own experience that by adhering to ethics and values, one can overcome all kinds of difficulties and problems. You can So now we have last speaker, Robin Chaurasiya. She is going to share her valuable experience. Chaurasiya, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Raise your hand if you're awake. Raise your hand if you ate too much lunch. Raise your hand if you're asleep. Yes, okay, I saw you napping earlier also. Please wake up for a couple minutes. I'm going to have a lot of questions for you guys. Let me start with this. Raise your hand if you're a student. Okay, wow. Raise your hand if you are under 20 years old. No? Some of you look very young. Okay, wow. How old are you guys? 15. Exactly, you look 15. Amazing. Raise your hand if you're a teacher, a professor. Teacher, professor, anyone? Anyone? Teachers, professors? That's it. That's it. Cool. And raise your hand if you're a monk or nun. Lot of you. Amazing. Welcome. Thank you guys all so much for being here and for listening. It's been a long day. Thank you everyone on this amazing panel and for all the previous speakers. And of course, thank you to Tibet House. But I have absolutely no words in any language to thank Geshe-la enough for everything that he has done for me and for the KRANTI girls over the past few years. So I'll just say thank you because there are no more words that I could possibly use. To start off, I'd like to ask all of you to close your eyes, but do not fall asleep. There will be exams after when you wake up, okay? Please close your eyes. Everyone, close your eyes. Okay, I want you guys to imagine for a minute that you are a 13-year-old girl in an Indian village. Your father is a farmer who is 3 lakh in debt and often talks about suicide. Your mother is dying of TB. And as the oldest child, it is your responsibility to take care of your 3 younger siblings. So you've never gone to school. When the first marriage proposal comes along at age 13, your family agrees, saying you're one less mouth to feed. You're married off to a 40-year-old man whose first wife just died, and he is an alcoholic, unemployed, and abusive. By age 16, you have 2 children, and you start doing domestic work in order to support these children. Your husband says that he will get you a job in a big city where you'll earn lots of money and you'll all live happily ever after. And your husband's friend brings you to the city, but instead of putting you to work, he leaves you and sells you to a brothel. You then have to sleep with 5 to 10 men every single day, while your children sleep under the bed below you. Please open your eyes. This is, of course, a real story. It's not made up. This is a story that I hear almost every single day, and it's very, very, very common. And I am the founder of KRANTI NGO, which empowers girls from Mumbai's red light areas to become agents of social change and happiness, we like to say. But these are stories that we hear every single day. And of course, we all have our own ideas and biases about what these women are like, and what these girls are like, and what these communities are like. So what would you imagine where these girls are now? Where do you think they are? The girls who grew up sleeping under the bed while their mothers did sex work on the bed above them, where do you think these girls are? Maybe doing sex work themselves, maybe working as bar dancers, right? This is what we imagine. These girls are Mehek and Sumaya, who both came to KRANTI at age 10, and one of them studies outside Boston. She's studying theater, and another one studies design outside in North Carolina. Sorry. This is Ashi. She's 24 years old, and after completing 12th, she worked for 3 years in Delhi with sex workers here in Delhi, taking care of their kids. And for the past 2 years, she's been working with special needs children and studying to become a special needs educator in Philadelphia. These are Ashwini and Sandhya, both of whom just graduated this year after studying on a full scholarship at Ashoka University in Delhi. One of them now works as a contractor for the UN, and the other one studies in Germany. Ooh, that photo is really terrible. I'm sorry. But this is Kavita, who is studying to become a yoga therapist on a full scholarship as well in Lonavala at Kavelyadham. These are the Sheikh sisters. Farah, on the end, is studying to become a nurse in Los Angeles. Danish is doing her master's in counseling to become a therapist in Chicago. And Amreen, on the corner, is deaf and mute, and she is just about to finish 12th in Texas. This is Tara, who in 2013 became the first girl from a red light area to study abroad. In 2014, she was given the award, the UN Youth Courage Award, and in 2015, she got a full scholarship to study and travel across 20 different countries in the world. After that, she found her real path, though, became a student of Geshe-las, and decided to study for the last 4 years at the Institute of Lama Tsongkhapa in Italy on a full scholarship. And I'm pleased to tell you that Tara is with us here today. So if you have questions for her later. But these are not my real teachers. I'm inspired by these people, all these girls and women that I just talked about, but they are not my real teachers. I want to tell you about the women who have truly taught me and what they've taught me. So the first question for all of you, remember I said there was going to be an exam, right? And I want one of the students to answer this. Here's the first question. What is the purpose of life? Students? Yes, please. Amazing. Thank you. Anyone else? Students? I thought you guys were awake. Are you a student? Yes? Yes. Exactly. Thank you. And basically, His Holiness talks often about how the purpose of life is to seek and spread happiness. And this is something that every single person in this room has in common, each other, with every dog and cat and parrot and bird and sentient being on this planet, and with every single teacher and student and professor and monk and nun and sex worker on this planet, right? The purpose of life is to seek and spread happiness. The person who has truly taught me this is a girl named Pinky. She was trafficked at the age of 9 and came to KRANTI when she was 14 years old. And for the next 5-6 years, I cannot tell you the things that we struggled with. And I mean, every day she's cutting herself, she's trying to commit suicide, she's running off with random guys, she's running away from the KRANTI home. I cannot tell you the things that we struggled with. It's much better now. She's been at KRANTI almost a decade now, so she's 24. But the one thing that I really look at Pinky every single day and learn from her is that she spends 90% of her day laughing and making everyone else around her laugh. And every single day, whenever I have a day where I'm kind of like, I don't know if I can, I'm tired, I don't want to work, I don't want to do this, I'm not feeling very happy, all I have to do is look at Pinky and her laugh and her smile. She loves animals, she loves volunteering, she loves working with people, but most of all, she loves laughing. If someone can be trafficked at age 9 and still spend their entire life laughing, why can't I? Right? So she is one of my biggest teachers. Second, compassion. We have heard a lot about compassion today from some really amazing and exceptional people. And of course, His Holiness says that if you want to be happy, practice compassion. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. And I think this is a quote that stands out to me so much because the person who has truly taught me what it means to be compassionate is a young woman named Sheetal. And Sheetal came to KRANTI at age 17 and she had only studied in 4th and 7th. So for all of you students who are complaining about having to be in education, imagine not having that education. So she'd only studied in 7th. We put her in 10th. She failed 10th multiple times. And then finally she said, I'm done with school. I said, what do you want to do? I want to play the drums. What? You don't let a 17-year-old drop out of school to play the drums, right? But we did, because this was the best thing for her. She is now working as a drum circle facilitator. Last year, she worked with 600 students across 20 government schools in Mumbai, working in gender empowerment programs, teaching these girls about different gender issues, but also using the drums as a method of teaching. She still struggles to read and write. Sheetal still cannot write, can barely write, let's put it that way. And yet when I ask her, why does she do this work? She says, it's only because I came to KRANTI that I ever got the chance to hold a drum. And what would my life be worth if I didn't pay that back to all these other students? They will never hold a drum if I don't come into their life. And when I see the types of struggles that Sheetal faces with mental health, with reading, with writing, with being in a normal school, with everything that she, a job, holding a proper job, these are the things that she struggles with. And yet for her, compassion means the things that I was given in this life, I'm going to get up and I'm going to pay them back tenfold. So whenever I have those days of kind of thinking, I don't know if I have the will to carry on with this work, I have plenty of hard days myself. I have days where I'm being beaten by the police, where you have to negotiate with traffickers. There are plenty of hard days. And when I have those hard days, I think about Sheetal and I say, you know what, if this girl who can barely read and write can get up and say every day, no, I'm going to take these drums and I'm going to go out to these girls and do these empowerment programs, why can't I? Of course I can, right? And the third most important lesson for me has been about generosity. Again, His Holiness says, generosity is the most natural outward expression of an inner attitude of compassion and loving kindness. And generosity is not, again, about just giving money, right? It's about the way that we live our lives and the way that we give that money. Raise your hand if you think you're a generous person. Great, couple people, good, wonderful. Oh, Kashila. Yes, KRANTI knows about your generosity very well. I have always thought of myself as a generous person, and I always, I give the auto driver a little, 10 extra rupees or whatever, and I always thought that was generosity. But the woman who taught me what generosity truly means is this woman named Zarina. pause and go back to the beginning where I ask you to close your eyes. And that is not Zarina's story, because she wasn't sold at 13 or 16. She was sold when she was 9 years old. And she started doing sex work when she was 11 years old. For those of you who are 15 and 16, that wasn't very long ago, right? You know what that's like. This woman, though, truly taught me the definition of generosity when one of the KRANTI girls' mothers passed away. And I've heard from all the Krantikaris that when a sex worker passes away in the red light area and they don't have family, their body is dumped out on the street, just like for the government to come pick up like a dog's body. And so I was in Delhi at the time that this girl's mother passed away, and I thought, I have to call someone to do something. And I called this woman, Zarina. I knew she would help. She literally called me back in 5 minutes and said, I've paid for everything, I've arranged for everything, I took a loan from somebody to pay for this. But I promise you one thing. Robin, I promise you that any sex worker who dies here, I will sleep with as many clients as I have to pay for the funeral, cremation, burial of every sex worker who dies here. I think all of you, even if you're 15 or 16 years old, understand that sex work is a very difficult job. I think I'm generous because I give 10 rupees here and there extra to people. And that day when Zarina said this to me, I had to pause and wonder, do I have generosity like that? That I would sleep with as many people as I had to pay for the cremation or burial of somebody I've never met. Now raise your hand if you think you're a generous person. No, not me. Yeshilai, I think you still count. This woman's daughters were the first girls at KRANTI, and the first girl that I mentioned, 18-year-old, who's studying in the US, is also her daughter as well. But I have to say that Zarina is literally the biggest and most amazing, significant teacher of my life. So I'd like to leave you with one more quote, which I think many of you have probably heard. At the end of the day, the only questions that I will ask myself are, did I laugh enough? Did I love enough? And did I make a difference? And these are questions that every day, if we pause to ask ourselves before we sleep, will really help drive the course of our lives. Did I laugh enough? I don't know. But I know that Pinky did. Did I love enough? I don't know. But I know that Sheetal did. And did I make a difference in this world? I don't honestly know. But I know that Zarina definitely did. So the question for you in the end is, who are your teachers? Because I have found a million teachers who are teachers in different ways. It might be when we are seeking answers, who do we turn to? We turn to teachers, professors. We turn to monks and nuns. We turn to His Holiness. We turn to Geshe-la, right? What if the teachers of the most important lessons of your life, the wisest people, are actually the illiterate, uneducated, underprivileged people around you? And what if their wisdom far surpasses anything that you could learn in a course or read in a book? Especially to you young people out here, especially to all the students, I would like to just encourage you to go out and do the learning in many different ways, not just from the books. And everything that Geshe-la always says about service and compassion and this true education about ethics, it can and only will ever come from getting out there and giving of yourself unselfishly. That is all. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Robin. You have revealed yet another fact that once you learn compassion, you develop tremendous confidence, which you have exhibited here. And not only you are able to find purpose of life, but also discover meaning of life. So all of us could see the impact of learning compassion. Whether you learn it from your mother's nurturing, or you learn it by going to the extreme sex workers. But kindness, compassion is the key. And that you have so well exhibited Thank you very much.
We'll now have a question and answer session for 10 minutes. So anyone, if you have questions.
Thank you for such a wonderful presentation. My question is specifically to Robin. I think the description that you have given, I really felt that it was, my goosebumps were really raising. Tackling the situations like that when it is not accepted socially, there are government agencies, so many other things. I think the challenge is not very simple. It's bound to take a lot of energy and the time. Now, it has been seen that those people who are engaged in the compassion area, after some time, they get what is really called the compassion fatigue. And they tend to really leave also. My question is that, what is the way that you have really charged yourself and kept this endeavor strong in front of those challenges? Because it's very enduring, very challenging. I remember David Robinson, in one of his talks, he said that when he was discussing with His Holiness, almost about 25 years back, that he wants to do what he's doing now, he knew that it was very challenging. His Holiness said that never give up. And he said that he posted that in front of his office in the door. So which means 25 years every day he's really seeing that. That's the kind of the energy that he got. So in your case, what is that which has really kept you so enduring? Because I can visualize multiple challenges for this. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Okay. Thank you. And just a reminder that Tara is also happy to answer questions about KRANTI and the KRANTI's beneficiaries' perspective as well. Let me quote a Christian passage which says that those who become free because of gnosis, knowledge, wisdom, eventually become slaves because of love. And on the one hand, I do struggle with the difficulties of the work and the stress and the overwhelmingness. And I know everyone who runs a school or works with youth in any way struggles with this so much. Not sleeping enough, not taking care of yourself. And these are really difficult challenges that it takes decades maybe to master how to do that. But I think on the short version is when you become a slave of love, that is the only thing that gets you up and keeps you going no matter what. And I did have to take a break at some point from this work, and there were even new girls who came into KRANTI while I wasn't working there or living there for 2 years. And yet the moment I came back, I fell in love with them as well, right? And whether it takes 5 years, whether it takes 10 years, all I want is for them to be able to go on to have these amazing success stories to their name as well 10 years from now. And if that's going to keep me working and stuck here as a slave, then that is what it is as well. I think that there are many people here who have faced these issues, burnout and, taking care of yourself and teaching and giving your all. I think another quote that really sticks with me is that teaching and mentorship or even parenthood, these are professions that demand nothing short of everything. And when you go in, you have to go in with absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. That is what makes those amazing success stories, that I'm going to give my all, I'm going to give everything I have, even if that means someday your health and someday your death. Still, this is what I was here for.
Yeah, did you ever feel that, okay, now it's enough that I should quit? Were such moments also came in your mind?
I think Geshe-la would love to answer that question for me. I went through a very serious burnout, I guess, health-wise. And so 2.5 years ago, actually exactly 3 years ago, I was here at this last. And after that, I took a break, which Geshe-la discouraged me from doing. But I spent 2.5 years in the Himalayas, living in a mud hut at 4,000 meters with no light, water, electricity, anything, toilet, anything. And I did a lot of meditation, and I did a lot of crying. And I think that part of this journey of finding our truth and finding ourselves always leads us back to where we started, in many ways, because going back to yourself or going back to your truth is a matter of coming back to what drove you to do this work to begin with. It was always what I was here for, and it was always what I was meant to do. And yes, maybe sometimes you have to step back and sit in a mud hut to figure that out, in the Himalayas specifically, at 4,000 meters specifically. But I think it's really hard to balance. On the one hand, because Geshe-la had been telling me for years that I need to, make meditation more a part of my routine. And yet here I am. I would message him sometimes so upset, like I was at the police station all night from, until 5 in the morning. How do you expect me to meditate? That kind of thing. And either you have to take the path of starting and building all of that into your life when you do this work to begin with, or you have to take the path that I'm going to burn both ends and drive myself into the ground, and then I'm going to take that break to come back to myself. Those are the only options there really are. There are no other options when you get into this type of work. Either give it your all and do it all. And personally, I know all the philosophers here might not agree with me, but I think that we find our nothingness and our emptiness in realizing that this was all you were here for. You were just a vessel that is going to literally be burned into the ground. And if that's what you do with it, great. And if you choose to do something else with it, you won't realize that nothingness because you won't be burnt into the ground.
I think audience is still curious to know that what kind of compassion you learned from those sex workers.
Yes? Are people still curious about that? No? Yes? No? I think it's literally about, as a sex worker, particularly because all these women are either from the untouchable or caste, or they're Muslim, or they're illegal immigrants from Bangladesh, whatever it is, they're already at the lowest of the low of the low of society. And the networks that they build and the ways in which they take care of each other and already think of themselves as having nothing, it almost becomes a matter of, well, what more do I have to lose? And people who are literally selling their bodies are some of these women. I have never seen a single one of them not give money to a beggar, or not give money to a transgender person begging on the street, or not give extra, I've never seen that. And I think when I watch these women, I realize how much they know what struggle is. And they will do anything to help someone else lessen somebody else's struggle. And they're doing this with 10 rupees here and maybe, 20 rupees there. And yet, what are the things that we have in this room, just in this room? What resources do we have in time, in money, in space, in privilege that these people will never have access to? Yet they are willing to give of the nothing that they have. And here we are with absolutely everything, more than enough, and we struggle to part with the smallest bit. That's one thing I've watched and seen them do over and over again.
Thank you. Other question? Yeah, Professor Suneja.
I actually wanted, Tara, do you want to respond to that at all? About the sex workers? Not this. Do you want to
No, the question was, what did the time in the hills teach you? That must have clarified your brain. And a clarified mind said what?
What's important?
I think Geshe-la would like to answer this for me too. Aren't you supposed to save me? It's hard to put into any summary of any kind. But I think if you're not living, if you're if you're not living life to the fullest, and I mean this type of fullest, I don't mean BMWs and Mercedes fullest, I mean this type of fullest, like Zarina's fullest. If you're not living life to the fullest, what the heck are you doing here? That's it.
So if I may precisely, that was my question to myself and others possibly. And Robin, to you, you have a purpose which is so meaningful. I wonder how we live and survive. Question of existence should be ours when we are so limited and we are so self-centered. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
You're not limited at all. At all.
Yeah, this one.
Yes, I think anything if you want to respond to or add to, especially about what sex workers have taught you. And mind you, just to remind you before she speaks, that activity, she grew up her entire childhood in a brothel. Not a word of English, only Marathi schools, and go ahead.
I may cry when I say these. Is it working? It overwhelms me. Because love and compassion is what I learned when I was growing up. It was not, for me, it was not taught in books. It was lived in experience because I mean, we have Zarina aunties, and Zarina aunties are everywhere. Many people, when they come talk about a community, they talk about not just sex worker, prostitutes, and about people as if they're not human beings, but like garbage dumped on the side. And that's how we felt most of our lives. But only after coming to Kranti, I've realized what unique experience we have as human beings, because we were not given, we didn't have a lot of privileges, and but we had the basics. And that was love and care. And I'm raised in that since the day I was born. My mother was a factory worker, and she had to go. And we lived in, red light area is much more complex and simple. Sex workers being sold, there's so much to it. But when my mother would go to factory early, 8 a.m. in the morning, she would come back 7 p.m. and she has 3 kids, and we were all taken care of by the community. So when I talk about my community, I say they're mothers, they're not sex workers, because they're identified as one label, and that's not fair, because there is so much more to them. There is so much dynamic, there is so much love. Even right now, we're traveling with them. They're in Himachal, and the simplest things, the joy. I remember just a couple of days ago, and not yesterday only, we're visiting one ashram, and the one person came up in the dining hall and said, we need help with certain activities. We need volunteers. Who can volunteer in the kitchen? And every one of the mothers raised their hands because they wanted to be there present. And Radha auntie said, "मैं बैठ के क्या करूँगी? मुझे जाके काम करना है." So it's in their being. It's not separate. And yet, the way world looks at them and how otherizes them it breaks my heart for sure, because they're the strongest, the most loving, caring, courageous women I've ever seen. I mean, go back to that same activity. They're coming from a whole different country, from Nepal, from Bangladesh, south of India to Bombay, which is a crazy place to be at, and they find home in each other. They're strangers to each other in the beginning, yet they find love and care. And there are many women from Nepal. One of the women who took care of my youngest sister since she was 2 months old, and I think she passed away 2 years ago, but she was more the mother to her than my mother took care. She had to go in the factory all day, and so she was barely present in the house. But we grew up in brothels. The aunties we were never alone. And the idea, what sex workers, because often when I'm asked questions about, how did you escape the trade? I was never, there was no question of escape. They were already paving the path for us to get out, to be educated, to go. I hated going to school. I was studying in a municipality school, and the teachers weren't kind enough. I was not a very happy child growing up. But the aunties, who would braid our hair and feed us, they would be like, you have to go. You don't have an option, you have to go. So they were the ones who really pushed us. So yeah, they teach for sure. Not teach, I mean, they embody love and compassion every single day, because they care for the ones they're not even their families per se, but that's what the beauty of interdependence, the beauty of how we can connect beyond our relatives or blood relations, and find care and love in difficult situation, and strength and resilience in the most difficult situation. And I think that's, for me, they are the examples of human resilience, love, and compassion.
Last. Okay, he's there.
Okay, thank you so much. This is a beautiful conference. As the Dr. T.K. Mishra ji said in the sharing, that how that we came to know these wonderful people. As for the Robin, it was that I was giving teaching in Deer Park, and she was one of the participants there. And then the last day when I was setting off, the Deer Park, the administrators, they asked if somebody can join you, or somebody can just come along with you, share a car with you. I said, of course, yes. And it so happened that it was Robin. And then Robin shared me about what she's doing, the KRANTI. Then I was so moved. I thought that this is a great, great opportunity for me, that I'm sharing this car and listening to what this little young girl has to say. And then I told her that I visited Mumbai and I must come to your KRANTI. So this is how we became connected. And I was seeing that she's extremely educated. Look at her English. So educated, and really a big, big, big sacrifice working for all these underprivileged young girls who all have the same right for happiness and same right to get away from suffering, but they're suffering so much. And I really admired her effort. And then this is how we kept in contact. And then they asked this question, Dr. Vivekji, he himself embodies universal ethics, incredibly great, kind person. You don't know the story that he in his own house, there are like 30 stray dogs. He was feeding, keeping them in the house. And these stray dogs, they are not like what is that? Pedigree dogs. All the stray dogs were being hit by the cars, and puppies hit by the cars. And he and his amazingly wonderful, kind wife, Sanjohi, just picked up all the That was when he was the Provost Chancellor, still taking care of not just sitting up there, really taking care of the needy. So this is, what Professor Vijay asked the Robin, what did you learn when you were in the hills? So it was more like mountain, no more than the hills. And I was dissuading her not to be there, because I did know that she was going through burnout. Yes, as she said, you can clearly see that reflected in how she presented. But then I was constantly telling her that yes, it is not the right time for you to be there. So don't go there. If you want to rest, you can rest. But KRANTI, what you doing is extremely greatly encouraging. And look at all these girls who got the opportunity to study here, there, UK, USA, and so forth. It's all because of Robin, her own sacrifice, that all these girls are getting such enormous opportunity. And that Tara is an incredibly beautiful example of that. So from this, what we learn is that looking at what, again, Jamyang is doing, all these little girls and boys. Yesterday, I had the honor of meeting with them, and it's so inspiring to see that all these young boys and girls, they're so they're competent, confident, so much joy there, and there's so much love that they exhibited to Genla when the Genla was giving the talk. All these little girls, they were busy video, they catching him in the video. There's so much love there. So from this, the lesson that we take from this universal ethics, His Holiness, I'd like to share with you one thing about what His Holiness said. Once the Namgyal Institute of Tibetology, NIT, Sikkim, the former director, he requested His Holiness to give Kalachakra Tantra teaching in Sikkim. And then His Holiness said that, okay, better to organize some conferences. Then he requested His Holiness to be there for the conference. And His Holiness said, provided if there's a follow-up. Conference and no follow-up is just useless. So conference, universal ethics, no follow-up, nothing. Oh, wow, conference, good lunch, finished. This is just pointless, waste of time, waste of energy, waste of resources. So there should be a follow-up. What's the follow-up? So His Holiness said, only if there's a follow-up, I will come for the conference. So likewise here, there must be some takeaway from this. Particularly, I would say that while the earlier sessions, they're extremely precious. They give so much insights into us, and this is like how to apply these insights, the wisdom, into our action. So bodhicitta in action, universal ethics in action. And yesterday when I was meeting with the students of Jamyang, I was telling them that you have Jamyang there as a universal ethics, walking universal ethics. Universal ethics in a walking human form. So this is the takeaway from the first session through to now and the next session. So takeaway is that in what way I can make a difference to the world, in your family, in the community, and later on, for those people who are more intelligent, who can become IAS officers, who can become politicians, if you want to become IAS officer, become a very different, altruistic IAS officer. If you want to become a politician, become a different, altruistic politician. So in other words, in whatever little way you can make a difference to the world, this is the step that we have to take. This is the takeaway from this group and from all the sessions this morning and the next session as well. Thank you.
You know, I would like to reveal one secret, personal secret of Dorje, that universal ethics is the secret of his energy, his enthusiasm, and his commitment. And that is how I have been seeing over the last 1 decade, that he is so passionate about it. And he thinks that this is the only solution to all the ills of human survival. All the ills. That is why he thinks that, once we start adhering to ethics, problem would be over. Okay, wonderful. And that's how he gets so many people, like-minded people who appreciate his thinking and vow to what he feels. Okay, do we have time now?
Yeah. Can I just, Robin, I thank you very much. It's very moving. I just was observing, since I worked on gender, I find that when women experience challenges in their life, they actually emerge to be very strong individuals. And they are the ones who become compassionate and strong. So when I read this book, it's a theoretical question. I don't know if you've read that book, The Prostitution Papers by Kate Millett. A while ago. So, well, her underlying assumption is that the prostitutes are the ones who are actually emancipated women, whereas the society women are the ones who are suppressed, who don't actually tap their inner power. So what do you have to say about that?
I think Tara would probably be much better to answer this as well.
I believe because it is true, I feel, from my own experience, there are much less inhibitions. They're free in expression and free in strength because they want to make the best for their children. And children are their force, moving motivation to do. And then, whatever they have to do, as Robin said about Zarina Auntie, and Zarina Auntie is, every single day she's a motivation for many, for us also, because she keeps talking to me about how can we do more for the women, because right now Kranti works with the children, and she really wants to go back and do something for the women, because every time she goes back, she'll have a drink, she'll have some chakna and some local daru and just have fun, and that's what they do. They have fun. And I think, I've been privileged enough to not be in the traditional cultural spaces, because I've been very privileged to be in spaces where the space has been very, especially because I came to Kranti when I was 17 and 18. But marriage is something not necessary in my family at all. Like, it's completely acceptable that I don't have to get married, and I don't think about it at all. So it's very difficult in Indian society, because when I hear about other women talking about marriage at the age of 20, 21, and I feel what great privilege I have that I've had mothers who've inspired me to live the fullest, to live in freedom of expression. And that's what, and in sexuality also. So in multiple spaces, I feel they're much more inhibited. I don't know if that's the right word, but much less restricted than for sure, as much as I've experienced.
I just want to add that one sex worker very specifically said to me, this path of, well, you marry one person, that person might be having plenty of affairs on the side or whatever. You're doing all the labor in the house, which is completely unpaid. I just saw something in the BBC about, I don't remember the exact number, but it was something like Indian women do something like 6 billion unpaid hours of labor a day. 6 billion unpaid hours of labor a day. So you can either be in a marriage where you do all that unpaid labor, your husband does whatever he wants, you're absolutely restricted to the house, etc., etc., etc. You don't have money in your hands, you don't get to choose how to spend that money. Whereas with sex work, you get to choose on some level who you sleep with, what you do with that money, what you have access to, where your children go to school. You have a say in their entire life, and your labor is paid. So that is many people's perspective, yes.
Thank you. I'm really sorry to say that we can't take any more questions because of limited time. So thank you. With this, we have come to the end of today's second session. Before I conclude, I would like to thank our chairperson for chairing this session, and to all our respected speakers for sharing your thoughts. So with this, I would like to request Dr. Renuka Singh, retired professor from Jawaharlal Nehru University and currently the director of Tushita Mahayana Meditation Center, New Delhi, to kindly offer a kathak and souvenirs to all our respected speaker and chairperson. Dr. T.K. Mishra. Venerable Jamyang Lobsang. Mr. Chhering Dorje. Miss Robin Chaurasiya.